Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy Gashawn. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. We're going to be talking about Sinners today. That is a new film by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan. Now, I was anticipating seeing this film, especially when I realized this was going to be horror. I love that. I think the things that Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan team up together, they make a lot of good movies. Not really a fan of Black Panther. That's just my personal thing. But when it came to things outside of that, Creed, Fruitvale Station, absolutely excellent films for me. And this is not an exception. This is a really good movie. Something that I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't probably go to the theater to see again. If my friends would ask me, I would go again. It was an enjoyable movie. The characters were well executed. I liked when time it got going, when it came to the actual vampires appearing, it didn't stop. There were a lot of really, really good things about this movie. I'm going to say it's worth the watch. It's not a waste of money, which is refreshing because so many things that have gone in the movie theaters, honestly, have sucked. They haven't really been worth it, especially something that's original. Not made off an adaptation. And I really like this. Now, obviously, some people can say that this reminds them of Dusk Till Dawn, and I get it. Things are going to remind you of stuff, but it isn't based on anything as far as like a written material, and I love that. So, what's good about this? Number one, the acting. Nobody phoned it in. There wasn't anything that you felt about this where you're like, okay, that person could have... Like Michael B. Jordan playing the two characters. Obviously, we've seen twin characters played in films before by the same actor, and this was still a very good performance, and I think this is probably a new test for Michael B. Jordan because he's never had to act beside himself before, so it was amazing. Haley Steinfeld did really, really well in her role. Delroy Lindo, I love him in every single film that he's in. Literally everyone in this does well. There's not one performance here that I have to complain about. As far as building up the tension, they did a good job at that, especially setting up the exposition, getting you to actually care about the characters, getting you to understand exactly where they were, the feeling of dread at the end. There's so many things that this film did well, right? But is it perfect? Is it this Avengers level experience that people were saying and acting like it's the best film that they've ever seen? No. And there are a couple things that, obviously, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about here that I think, obviously subjectively, just subjective to my opinion, that they could have done a bit better. And some things that are just a victim of how good Ryan Coogler did things already in this film. So let's just get into that. Okay, some of the things were kind of like minuscule. For example, some of the plot holes, like the main vampire, at the end when he got hit in the head with the instrument, they tried to make it seem like when he got hurt, everybody else feels pain. But there was plenty of times where in the film, he got hurt and none of the rest of the vampires felt anything. That was one of those things where you're like, all right. Also, the whole fact that for some reason, these vampires seem to be out of control, which is fine. If that's who they were, if they transform, they're out of control and they're under control by like kind of this hive mind thing, I was alright with that, which explained why the two brothers were fighting, because he wasn't in control of himself. But then when you have at the end of the movie that for some reason he had enough control to not go after anyone else and to promise his brother to not do this and even take the girl with him, it's like, if he had it in him to do that, then why didn't he not attack them to begin with? Why didn't he just transform and not attack Smoke's girl or any of the other people? If he always had it in him to be able to do that, it was just one of them things that kind of added in for the plot at the end, but it didn't really make much sense to me. Like a lot of people will go, oh well, he couldn't hurt him because of the thing on his neck. Yeah, but it wouldn't have stopped him from doing anything else, right? But that's me when it comes to that, right? Now, I'm gonna say this. This movie was 2 hours and 30 minutes long, right? And they had to provide a bit of exposition. All these characters are so interesting to me that it leads me to the conclusion that this would actually have been a much better series than it would have been movie. Now, hear me out. That is because, for example, just the twins by themselves, they were in World War I, they worked for Al Capone, it would have been great. Imagine bear with me here, that the movie starts the series kind of starts where this movie ends, right? And we see the vampires outside of there, and then the series is just showing everything that leads up to that point. So you see the twins in World War One, with Smoke protecting Stack, as he said, him being protected and really not being able to understand. We see like him go through things, and for some reason he's not dying, but people are dying around him. That'd have been really interesting, showing the Al Capone thing, because as long as he's protected and he's covering up for Stack, then that makes him protected by extension. But being able to see what their lives were like leading up until that moment, that would actually be a really cool thing. His girlfriend, by Wunmi Masaku, I know I must be saying her name wrong, but you get what I mean. She was somebody who knew who like vampires were. She worked kind of like in black magic or whatever. Her family clearly is into that. I would love to see what her family's history is, and they're into all these supernatural stuff, and she knew. And that would probably be a really good story. Maybe that affected, or maybe it was a reason or contributing factor to why their son is no longer alive. Maybe that could have been a cool thing to play into that. I wanted to see Delroy Lindo's character as far as what he was before that. Maybe more of Smoke and Stack's cousin. I'm forgetting his name, but the one pretty much that was making all of the music. What the relationship was between him and his dad, and really expanding on that. Haley Steinfeld's character, they said her mother's really important and she helped raise the two twins. So showing that and what the relationship was there. There's a lot of things that could have been expanded on. Just for like a season worth of a series. Just one. A limited series, right? I guess they would call it. Would have been great. There was so much lore here, and I guess I'm a bit of a lore whore, right? And I love that. And he created characters that were so interesting. I would have wanted to see more, and I think that this movie wasn't enough, and it shortchanged some of them. And maybe he didn't even think that, but it is what it is. The other thing that I thought I understood where it was coming from, but it was just kind of janky to me, was that scene where, you know, they're playing the music and it's channeling like the past and the future of a whole bunch of things. I understood where they were going, but for some reason it just seemed like it was very busy and it just didn't come together. Like for me, I heard some people really liked it, but for me, I understood it. I knew what they were trying to do with the music. It was, you know, when it went to the hip hop thing and then it went to like future rock and roll artist type of, I don't know. It was all over the place for me. But I understood exactly what they were trying to say. So I knew what the message was. I got the kind of allegory between, like, you know, being like a cultural vampire and stuff like that. That's what was happening with the, you know, the guy saying, I want this ability for you to be able to. So I saw the little tiny messages like that. But this movie is extremely entertaining with great acting, added with that horror twist. I loved it. Like, I love the movie. But was it perfect? No. Is it the greatest movie ever? No. There were definitely some things that we can have a conversation. Oh yeah, the Native Americans that just disappeared, they knew who this guy was as a vampire, right? They knew who he was, and then for some reason they just never showed up again, right? That was weird, because just even them as characters could have been expanded on. Even the Irish guy, apparently he's very old. I mean, he's talking about when he was there when they brought Catholicism to Ireland. That would make him extremely old. How did he get here to America, right? Like, how did that happen? That's a whole story within itself that we could have seen expanded on. But yeah, and also the last scene where, you know, Smoke shoots everybody. I get it. It's one of those like cathartic, the hero killed all the racists. And also it does close a loop, because that was something that was supposed to happen, because that's where he got the place from, and they were going to come back and kill him anyway. But it gave me Lovecraft Country vibes, where they just wanted to show, like, you know, black guy getting revenge on a racist. And that's fine, because it fits with the plot. But sometimes when I see stuff like that, I'm like, is this just one of those cathartic things that people have to add in there? That's just me. But it doesn't ruin the movie. It's just like, okay. Right? And then, like, he took off his whole necklace, and he didn't have to, because he could have lived on if he had not done that. So I guess that was a choice. I guess he felt like there was no, I mean, I don't know, especially since he knows his brother is still out there. I'm not really sure why he would do that. That's why I was confused, because his brother's still out there. His cousin is still around. There was plenty of people for him to be able to live for. So I'm not sure why he wouldn't just keep that on and live. But whatever, I guess to make the moment more poignant. But that's really all I have to say about this. Solid movie, worth a watch. Go see it. If you want to see it again, I guess. Is it the greatest movie I've ever seen? No, but I think it could have been even better as a series. Let me know what you think. Let's talk in the comments about it. Enter the Nerd.